it's time to start on the rear doors and get those off and figure out what kind of sound treatment we can do on that. The rear door we know is going to be different than the front door, just from reading the instructions. Yeah, we got to get it off, take a look at it, and see what we can do. Let's join Fernando at the door.
The first thing you have to do is locate where your screw points are. In this particular car, we have two. One on the top of the handle and one on the bottom. You don't have to unclip anything. The screws are very visible. The only thing you have to do is go lower. You can see one right here and one in the top right there. This is a T30. Two screws. We're gonna grab our plastic pry tool. Start from the bottom. Gonna go around. Now that you have it loose, grab it from the metal of the door and just pull it up. As you see, we have the door out, but the harness still attached. I grab one of the metal pry tools and slowly go back and forth, because this is like cardboard, so you don't want to break it. You got that one. You have one in the bottom next to the light. This one has a clip in the top. Pull it out. Second one, these actually are like a regular European connector. For me, I like to unplug it, the whole thing, just break it apart, other than breaking these tabs that is gonna hold your connector. Take it out and just put it in the same place. Same for this one. Now that you have the whole harness, you got your door. The speaker is actually attached to the door panel.
Now before you say, wait a minute, I've seen this box before, and you have, the reason why I'm showing it to you again is because this is for the rear doors, not the rear tail. It's the same speaker, it's the same box, it's the same EV40 MRTs, and the speaker that comes out of it is the same speaker that we've seen now a bunch of times, because there are a ton of these in the car. Makes things really easy. But if we didn't show them to you, someone would say, hey, what speakers went in the rear doors, right? And we'd be like, well, why didn't you show them? Why didn't you show us those products of DSP sound system? So here they are. We've talked about them a bunch. We get another bag of screws. That's pretty cool. I still have the other bag of screws in my pocket. I don't want to lose them. As well we should, because it's the same set of speakers. That means that when you're going to do one of these cars and you have the tweeter, open up one of these boxes and grab the screws out of here for your tweeter. One of the things I haven't mentioned up until this point is the surround. These have butyl rubber. A lot of speakers do. Alpine always has these lines, and it's not a normal surround. It's called a hammer surround, and this is something that Alpine has been using for quite a while now, and it's one of the things that Alpine is most proud of, is the way this is designed, and it allows the surround to be perceived as smaller, but each one of those can actually stretch out bigger. So when you scale this up to a subwoofer, you have what looks like a smaller surround, but isn't, because it's going to stretch more as opposed to a fixed. So for those of you guys out there, they're like, does it have a hammer surround? Yes, it does have a hammer surround. And then we learned something about these speakers, even though we've seen them 3 times at this point. It's okay. Let's get these in the rear door, shall we? Let's deal with the rear door. Oh, why Tesla? Why? And not just the model. So here's what we have, and this is why those screws come in the box, is because these are plastic welded into place. They are the stupidest thing ever. So now we have to get these off in a way that doesn't ruin the mount. There's a couple of ways to do this. A soldering gun, believe it or not, or iron, works really well. Heating it back up and just kind of pulling it off. And you can sit there and do it with a razor. Small roto zip could probably get in there and do it as well. It just depends on what you have available to you. So for example, like a roto zip, put like a hungry bit like this on there. Then lift up on it with a panel tool, and that gets that one off. If you have all the time in the world, you can take a sharp razor knife. You can sit here, just kind of rock it back and forth and trim it off like that. Panel tool again, lift up on it. And then if you wanted to, you could use a drill bit. I don't like using drill bits. The knife actually went pretty quick. All right, gets our speaker off. Screws that come in the box are now going to go into these holes. I'm not gonna lie, these kind of scare me. They seem like they're a little too long, but let's hope that Alpine did their homework. I mean, they're not popping through the other side. And there we go. We know there's nothing to plug this into because we just watched Fernando remove all of these harnesses, which in my mind is like one of the worst things. I can't believe Tesla didn't put a plug to remove the whole door and you have to go through what you did. But hey, who am I to just, yeah, anyways. I'm gonna get this over to Fernando. He's gonna add some sound treatment to this. Let's take a look at what he has added to it. So by looking at this, there's really nothing we got going on here.
Right.
It's just a sealed cavity. There's no speaker anywhere leaking into this door. The goal was not to get into this. We added sound treatment to the panel itself like we like to, make it more rigid, put a lot of energy around where the speaker is at, and we'll add back on the mat, which is really the only sound treatment in the whole car we found so far, which is wonderful. And then this will just go back on in reverse order. You have that cool ridge like right here where he said lift up the door, so you're going to tuck back into the door, pushing down, give it a slight tap.
You feel it as soon as it goes in, and
yeah,
and that's it. You put your 2 screws back, you're done.
And just like that, we now have all of the speakers, with the exception of the subwoofer, in the car, which means we should probably go find the subwoofer, which I think is in the passenger side somewhere.